Hey everyone, Todd Eastman here, just jumping on really quickly before the start of this episode. I know you haven't heard any music, you haven't heard anything yet. That's because this is a special sort of announcement, I guess. My interview this week with Criss Fresh went for a long time. It went for 2 hours. So what I thought I would do is break it up into two 1 hour parts. So that's what you're going to see here. The first part is right now. You're going to see after here. And then next up on the feed, it'll be up straight away. So the two parts will be together. Will be the second half of this interview. But yeah, long-ranging interview with one of the best minds in Australian wrestling, that is Criss Fresh. And I was so very happy to catch up with the guy and talk to him. And this is it right now.
Big stand like Stone Cold with a few beers. Play the game, I in the game. I'm champion, I'm Triple H. Undertaker, I'm your maker. Bury the brother like Kane. Ooh, 1-3, hit the tombstone, hit the choke slam on face. Ooh, yeah, like a macho heel, turn like country muscle. If you suffer like tomatoes, I'ma keep a couple models. Ooh, and you may call me HBK. When I'm tuning up the thing, you best be getting in my way. Ooh, yeah, I'm degenerate, I love it, yes, I love it. If you ain't down with that, then I got two as well, you suck it. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, hold another drug. Let's be busy 23, coming.
Welcome everyone to your longest running Australian wrestling podcast, Wrestle Radio Australia. I'm your host, Todd Eastman. Normally I'd go on with what's happened over the last couple of weeks in Australian wrestling, but being the times that they are, there's not been much happening the last couple of weeks in Australian wrestling. But what is happening is this Friday on January the 28th, we have the return of Wrestlerock. And with me today, I'm going to skip through what I normally do and just go straight to the interview. With me today is not only the co-host of Wrestlerock, but one of the best wrestling minds in this country, Criss Fresh. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, mate.
Todd, good to be back, mate. Been a little while since we've had a chat on this show. A few things have happened in Australian wrestling
A few.
over the past couple of years where it's sort of all been chaotic. But yeah, like I feel odd saying it, but Wrestlerock's actually going to happen. and it's going to be this Friday. And it's mixed emotions, obviously, with everything that's going on, not just in Australia, but in the world about doing anything. But mostly excitement to be able to get out there. And, you know, it's rare for me to perform these days, but to get out there and just do a show and get a show under the belt. You know, look, somebody has to do it. It's like 2022 in Melbourne, like, all right, bang, let's go. But, you know, we've seen PWA have a really hot start to the year, which was a really encouraging sign. You know, it was incredible. What they were able to put on will certainly be the polar opposite of the class act that is PWA. But, you know, Wrestlerock is always a good time. So, yeah, really looking forward to it.
Was it a case of just watching the news nightly going, please don't, not again? Because you guys have had a couple of like really close sort of calls to have to cancel the shows in the past. So it's sort of like. So
last year, Victoria finally got to a day of donuts where no cases, no nothing. It was 0. I posted that in a group chat with myself, Julian James, Benny Mino, and Mikey. And it was like, yes, come on. The next day, all hell broke loose and the postponements began. And it sort of got to a point where I think we got to our second postponement. And it was like, we're just calling this and cancelling it and refunding people's money, because it felt disingenuous at that time to go, we've got another date that we're confident we're going to get to, and hold on to people's money when they probably could use it. So, you know, like we made the call, yeah, we're going to eat it a little bit, but let's just refund money and we'll reassess. So then everything went really well. And it was like, we're feeling really confident about announcing a show. Let's do it. You know, we reached out to the Corner, and it's hard to get dates at the Corner Hotel. It's a very popular, famous venue here in Melbourne. And we managed to get a date and we announced, and sure as shit, Omicron became a thing. And I was just looking at it going, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you know, is this a sign?
Yeah. Wow.
But, you know, we are living in a vaccinated world. where regardless of the debates or where people land on it, the fact is over 90% vaccinated, and, we've moved into an era of boosters. I'm not ashamed to say, I've had my booster shot. I want to give myself every chance. I've got comorbidities. I'm a chubby dude. If it hits me, I'm probably in trouble.
That's why I'm getting boosted on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm taking. Actually, I like my second Pfizer wiped me out. The booster was. I felt a hangover from drinking too much. I didn't feel anything from the shot, which was good. But yeah, so it was interesting to sort of watch what it was. But our government here sort of said, if a certain percentage got vaccinated, we're just going to let that sort of dictate how we go, and let it take its course. And touch wood, unless some ungodly disaster happens within the next 3 days. I'm not saying it can't happen. I'm just saying unless it's going ahead, we're going to be there. I've actually laid very low because I don't want to be a close contact. I don't want to risk getting it. So, I just want to get to the corner hotel. And once I'm in those doors, it's like, I'm here. I don't care if there's 2 people here. I'm performing in front of them. We'll give them a hell of a night. Let's go. Because, and I'm sure we'll get to this later, we haven't just had Wrestlerock delayed. I've got another project, Renegades of Wrestling, that I laugh at the initial discussions of maybe we'll be debuting around August 2021. And that's been something that's silently been getting delayed, that the public don't see and that we see. So I think, and Todd he'd know this from personal experience, all of us in wrestling, it's hard to not do it because it's like a drug. And from wrestlers, even to the sound and lighting people that enjoy what they do, like everybody that is passionate about wrestling that works in it, it's really hard to not have something to look forward to.
Yeah.
And it's mentally hard. You lose it a little bit, and there's lots of different things. So there's a slight trepidation, if I'm being honest, because that's just how I'm trepidatious when I go to the supermarket, but it's more excitement and relief that we're going to get out there. And for those that do come along, we're going to give them the funnest time that we can, because I think everybody needs a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like you said, like performing and all of that, that's our thing. That's our drug. And even because when it sort of, everything sort of stopped, everything stopped for me, even doing this sort of stopped. So I had to pivot and make that the Making Chicken Salad show that we do, where we can talk about the international stuff, because that's still going on. And I still get a little bit of a fix. I don't exactly get my full wrestling fix, but I get a little bit of talking about it and all that sort of thing. Has stuff like doing the Hey podcast and the Geek Dudes, has that sort of helped you as well?
Yeah, probably. I guess it's always something to look forward to. And it's very different though, because I guess you're podcasting about wrestling. Yeah. So it sort of still feels like there's a connection, where with Geek Dudes and Hey, it's a podcast, there's literally no connection to wrestling at all. This is Christmas time and Uncle Lockie and Jules pop around and just happen to join us, but it felt very removed from wrestling. And I think for me, what was hard last year was, we had begun work on Renegades of Wrestling with Destroy All Lines, and I couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't talk to wrestlers about it. I couldn't talk to anybody about it. So I couldn't even start creating in my head of, what if I did this? What if I did that? I was trapped with something that sounded really cool on paper that didn't feel real at all, and to some extent still doesn't feel real. We haven't announced our first show, and it's like, I think it'll feel real to me once that happens.
Yeah.
But no rush on announcing that just yet.
Wow, really?
and that's also been our discussion of, you only get one first show, and you don't want your first show to be a show that has to move.
Yeah.
And there's no guarantees. Like at some point, we're going to have to piss or get off the pot and go, this date we're running, see you there, and whatever happens, happens. But, I'm glad that we didn't go for one or two of the dates that we were going to, because it probably wouldn't have worked out.
Mm-hmm.
And where we were lucky was Destroyer Lines are a massive touring company. And the boss of Destroyer Lines spoke to me and Mikey on a Zoom call in the middle of last year. And we were all hopped up talking October, all giddy and excited of this, that. And he just looked us dead in the eye and said, Q1 2022. You're not even thinking about it until then. And we just looked at him and he looked and repeated it.
Yeah.
And it was like, he knows, because, he's booking festivals, he's booking concerts, he's doing this. And it's like, you're not touching, nobody's touching this area. And you saw it, like, I think like big acts like Guns N' Roses and stuff were going to tour in November last year and they all just bailed.
Push back. Yeah.
Yeah. It just got pushed back. And, so that sort of changed expectation. But yeah, it's, I don't even feel like we're out of it enough to be able to reflect and go, what is this? Because it feels like this battle maybe has a year or two left in it.
It's such a tease too, because heading towards the end of sort of the second half of last year, we were sort of semi-regularly having shows. So it almost felt like, oh, we're really starting to get a groove on here. Shows are coming back. 2022 is going to be great. We'll probably be back to normal by then. It's going to be amazing. And then over Christmas, all of these things happen. And I'm like, because I messaged some of the boys that with Mikey help run Pro Wrestling League. Yep. And I'm like, this feels like 2020 all over again. And they're like, yeah, I know, it doesn't, because back then it was like, I remember messaging those two boys when the NBA shut down and just went, we're not going to be running for a while, boys. Yeah. And they're like, nah, it's going to be fine. I'm like, dude,
the NBA.
If the NBA shuts down, we've got Buckley's chance getting in.
Yeah. If the NBA shuts down in the land of freedom and you can't tell us what to do, if we want to die from a disease, we're going to die from a disease. Stay out of it, government.
Yeah.
If they choose to shut down, I think I was the same. I had the NBA litmus test of like the NBA is down, everything's going to go down. Mm-hmm. It's been different for me because like my journey was, I finished up with MCW at the end of 2019, and it felt like it was the perfect ending time.
Are you saying you killed wrestling? Is that what you're saying?
No, well, it just sort of felt like nothing got the chance to be the same again after that.
Yeah.
And sort of what was a bummer for me was we did our last Wrestlerock at a brewery, and it wasn't a good experience. Like it didn't fit. And not with the crowd. Like the crowd, I'd say 90% of the crowd were fine. But Wrestlerock's a very adult orientated show, and we're pretty unapologetic in what we are and who we are, and people that come to our show understand that. And we've had a great relationship with the Corner Hotel where they know what the show is, and they know that we're going to straddle that line and maybe occasionally put a foot the wrong way, but for the most part we're going to ride the line. And we've changed a lot over the years. It's like anything with comedy and humor, of what was acceptable in 2006 does not fly in 2022. And there's growth. I know people don't like allowing growth, but you have to allow growth. And you learn and you make changes, but while still remaining edgy. And we did this show at the brewery and they didn't like it, and sent message to me in the opening match of commentary of shut the fuck up. Pardon if you've got to bleep me, Todd, I apologize.
No, we're good.
Okay. And I had just made a very simple joke of a wrestler was grabbing a table from beneath the ring. It's a very childish Criss Fresh joke. I said, oh, look, he's grabbing wood. I had a bit of wood earlier when I saw some of the patrons coming into the venue tonight. And that was enough. And it's like, if that's the me material that you're going, that's not for us, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And I think I said the word stiffy and started giggling, going, "Who says stiffy anymore?" and that's the thing. Like, we're children, and but it's more people are laughing at us, going, "You clowns!" Like, I think Jules said, we're like the Wayne and Garth of commentary.
Yeah.
Commentary, and sort of. But then I sort of sat there with a boo-boo face, going, "I don't know
what to say now.
What to do?
Yeah.
Like, what to do? Like, if this is not cool, like." Our whole idiot routine is this like dick and fart jokes. And Jules sort of looked at me and he could see I was upset and sort of off mic. He goes, "What's wrong?" I go, "I just got told off." He goes, "What for?" I think I said wood and stiffy. And he goes, "You got in trouble for that." And I saw him and he sort of frowned. And like later on in the show, Lockie Hendricks was in the ring and the crowd were chanting, "You little C, you little C." And I get on the mic and go, "Just for the record, that's the crowd saying that. That's not us." And Jules just looks and he goes, "Yeah, we'd never say C into the microphone." And I just looked at him, I go, "We doing it?" And he was like, "We're doing it." And it was like, "All right, we're doing it." And it was just that thing of, we're not coming back. So let's go. And, it just wasn't a good fit. They weren't happy. They expressed that they weren't happy. Our fans expressed that they weren't happy with them not being happy, and it was just messy. And it was just like, we just need to play on our home turf.
Yeah.
Where it's known. You put a MCW or a PWA or a Riot City Wrestling, a Wrestle Rampage or something like that in a show like that, you can probably sanitize it and put on a really good show that they're going to go, "That was really cool." You put
it's a different animal, completely different animal.
It is. And just because it's a brewery, it doesn't mean it's the right mix of alcohol and wrestling.
We used to do grindhouse shows up here, and we did live commentary for one show. And somebody slapped, I can't remember who it was, somebody slapped somebody. And I'm going, "Wow, he really bitch slapped him." And this girl larked up at me. Yep. And I said, "That's insulting." I said, "Well, it's only insulting if you're a bitch." And because I was in full heel mode, and like she got up.
I know how this is going exactly.
The boyfriend laughed, which I think is what compounded it. The boyfriend laughed, so she got up and left. And I looked at the guy doing commentary with me, happened to own the Fed, and went, "If this is my last night, I really apologize." Like that. And he just laughed. And he went, "Nah, man, that wasn't bad comparing to what I've heard before." So
and the thing is, I guess, especially when you haven't done live commentary in a while, it's hard to work. It's hard to work out the line sometimes, of where is that line now, and what is it? I'll be honest. I was inspired by when I was a much younger performer. You grew up with the Attitude Era and ECW and stuff like that. Objectification of women, or talking about how somebody would be hot or something, wouldn't be out of the ordinary to hear on commentary. Where now I would be more likely to objectify the dudes out there in the ring, and
because it's a safer target.
But also, you're putting female wrestling has come along so well. I don't want to be the person that's out there degrading it either. And I don't need to get a laugh by going there. No. I can get a laugh by going here, or by going self-deprecating, or what it is. So you try not to overthink it, because you'll do your head in. I laugh. We've got the run sheet on the commentary table, and we've had people go, "Oh, so that's your script. Can we check it out and see what jokes you guys had planned?" And then people laugh and go, "You think we've ever put a thought into what we're saying?" We're legitimately really good friends that are just feeding off natural chemistry.
And that's the best when that can happen.
Yeah, I don't think I work well if I'm not friendly with you. I've called, one of the worst calls I've ever done was with somebody that many people consider a great commentator, and we just didn't gel. It was like the Wrestlerock commentator, this guy, and it just didn't work. And I remember, you'd appreciate this, Todd, being an old school fan. I did the old Bobby Heenan thing of, look at him, he must weigh 500 pounds, somebody that's not even close.
Yeah.
And rather than going gorilla on me of going, will you stop being ridiculous?
Yeah.
Oh yes, 500 pounds,
Oh, wow.
And I was like, oh, whoa. Like, oh, okay, I'm in trouble.
I once had a guy at RC Dub where the color commentator, because I was just doing play-by-play then, the regular color guy couldn't make it. So another guy that used to do it years ago had stepped in. And Maddie and Cree are like, oh, no, you'll love it. He's great. He's really good. I was, oh, cool. I'm like excited. It was like, Marty from Major League.
Yep.
That's what his commentary was like. I don't know. I'd throw it to him like, yeah, that was a good clothesline. I'm like, woof, this is going to be a long night.
And look, commentary is hard. For the most part, I think live commentary should be a dead art. Like, it works at the Corner Hotel because it's a rock and roll wrestling show, and it's different. Cracker Jack will argue that it should not have live commentary. And I say to Cracker, I'll only call your stuff. I'll not have live commentary on anything but your stuff. I'll be your exclusive commentator. But I think at first, because I was used to local wrestling only hearing live commentary, it was weird to go to a show where they didn't have commentary. But now I think it's been so much better for the performers to learn to work without the crutch of somebody talking over them, and their story is the focus and everything like that. But
I used to like it for the fact that, like, the commentator could set the table for the match, but I'd almost like this casual balance of have them do all that before the match, and then the match just let it go and not comment towards it. I like the fact that they can say, well, this guy is blah blah, and sort of like explain the gimmick, maybe just to give the younger guys a hand that aren't all that good at getting that across just yet,
of developing it.
I used to be really like, no, we need live commentary, and now I've sort of, it's with a lot of things in wrestling, I've turned around on it where no, these guys, this is their part of their show. We've done everything we can to set it up. Now it's their turn to go out there and tell their stories. Yeah,
like it was. There's two things Criss Fresh feels wrestling doesn't need anymore, and it's live commentary, and it's GMs. And if Aussie wrestling can chill out on both of those, I had taken a couple of months off from MCW in the middle of my run. I just needed a bit of a break. I was a bit burnt out. And a pitch was made of, did you want to come back as a performer? And I was like, what? Yeah, like, do you want to be the commissioner? And I started laughing, and I go, I have actively booked for years not to have a commissioner, and your pitch to me is to come back as a commissioner? No. Sounds like you're in trouble. I'm back as booker. Is sort of what ended up happening. But like, I do think the wrestlers today are so much better. No offense to everybody from years ago, but just everybody just is so much better at telling stories in the ring and character development and their appearance, like everything. Like, it felt like commentators felt like they had to do heavy lifting where perhaps performers were lacking, where now I don't really think that's even the case anymore. Like, I don't want to talk over, Matt Diamond doing something so spectacularly beautiful that its picture speaks 1,000 words.
Yeah. That being said, we were doing a chicken salad where we review shows, and now we've moved into reviewing Aussie shows as well. Okay. And I made the observation that I don't think there is one commentary team in Australia that I don't like. There's not one commentary team where I like, oh, mute, I don't need to listen to these guys. I'll like the guys in the PWA, I really, really like. MCW, I can't really say much yet because they're doing a whole new team, so I haven't heard them. Yeah, because I think Andy's gone from there. Yeah. And they're trying out Nims and Simon. Yeah, that's what I believe is the next. Yeah, I know them. They're good guys. So, and they've got radio experience. Yeah. Doesn't always translate, but they're passionate fans. Yeah, like Dean, the EPW guys, I really do enjoy their commentary. The Right City guys, Sean, and they've been doing that for years. They are just, Sean and Paul are just like veteran. Like,
She's-
it's so very good. It's the one thing that I think is real strong in Australian wrestling, where there are a lot of like, I'm sure you might watch a few indies in America and you'd be like, oh, these commentators are terrible. I just have to mute this and just watch it. I'll listen to a podcast while I'm watching that, which kind of helps my numbers, but
yeah.
But it's one of those things, like I don't have that with the Australian guys. The Australian guys, I've really, really liked the majority of their commentary.
It's a really tough art form. And a good commentator doesn't get enough credit, but a bad commentator doesn't get enough criticism.
Yeah.
Because a bad commentator can ruin a good match. And you know, that's coming from somebody who's a self-professed bad commentator. But yeah, see you at the Corner Hotel, January 28th. But yeah, but it is an interesting one. Like with Renegades, when we were talking about assembling a commentary team, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and you know, grabbing Jules, who does Wrestlerock. He knows what I want, and it's not Wrestlerock, but he's got a level of charisma that I think will be good for the brand.
Yeah. That when I saw that announcement, that was like a shock, not shocked moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah. Still, I can see that.
Because I called him and I said, Julian James, will you be my commentator? And he goes, yeah. He goes, are we calling it? Are we? And I went, I go, we're not calling it.
I said my commentator, not my commentator partner.
Yeah. And you know, I said to him that I was, you know, hopeful to put together Beej and or Lindsay Howarth, I think he calls himself, Drunk Uncle Beej, and Andy Coyne with him. Should they be available and sort of willing to do it? And I was fortunate enough that they both said yes. But you know, Jules will be our ring announcer. Beej and Andy are both excellent ring announcers, but I want different. This might mean Jules will start getting bookings as a ring announcer, because I'll tell you a phenomenon, Todd, is I did another podcast, I did On the Turnbuckle, and I was talking about how we're going to use Matt Diamond, and I made the joke of, now that I've mentioned him, he's going to start getting a lot of bookings. And, you know, and I was happy for him that this is going to happen, but, you know, everybody will pounce in that preemptive thing of let's get him. Man, Matt Diamond's on a lot of Melbourne shows. Yeah. It's maybe coincidental because the dude's hella talented. But I'd just like to put it out there to any local talent. If you would like me to claim I want to work with you on a podcast, I'll give you my PayPal details. We'll figure out a deal, and I will happily put you over. And I look forward to seeing you on many Melbourne shows. Who wouldn't want to book Matt Diamond?
Well, no, it is funny.
Yeah. It's just funny that I said it.
I had the same thing with a guy, CJ, down up here. He works primarily for IPW, but like I've known him for years. A really good worker, young guy, really good shape. So I was like, come up, be in the main because we were crowning a new champ. And I was like, I want to put two guys that are relatively unknown in with two guys that are well known, because those two guys will sort of give you the rub. So like Rip Riley is like a household name in Queensland wrestling. Yep. I brought Adam Brooks in because Adam Brooks is a household name in Australian wrestling.
Yeah, Brooksy, you can't miss.
And then Zeke Andino, who's got a huge future, and then CJ. And then I think it was like 2 weeks after, CJ messaged me going, I've been getting calls for bookings in Queensland left, right, and center now, man. Thank you so much. And I'm like, dude, that's you guys. You went out there and did the job. Yeah. I'm just good. I'm happy I could put you in a position that you got seen with dudes that they go, oh, he can hang with Brooksy. Cool. I'll bring him in for a shot.
And that's the thing. Like, it's about time Melbourne started booking Matt Diamond. You know, like so many people had been flown into the state. And I think it was always going to be inevitable. You know, like the dude's so talented.
And from what I hear, like heel Matt Diamond is really good.
I'm also going to shut up about future things that we're going to do, because it's like, you know, because you get excited and you want to talk about talent, because I love putting over talent I'm excited to work with. But it's like now I kind of just have to shut up and zip my lips, and, you know, we'll see you at the first Renegade show and you'll see what we can do. But as I say, it's my job as booker to book better than everybody else. You know, everybody can use it. Like, I'm very much free market because nobody pays enough. All of this nonsense of being loyal to a training school or to a fed is a load of shit. It is like, I've been around long enough. You should, number one, work out which promotions are good to work for, because they're not all good to work for.
That's
right. And
that's the key.
You sometimes have to find out the hard way, but you can talk to your peers about it and go, what do you think of this promoter? What do you think of that promoter? But also, money. Who's going to pay you? You're putting in TANs, you're training, you're doing this, you know your worth and get as many bookings as you can and make money and don't get hurt. Like, work in a safe environment. You know, I think they're all important things, but the falsehood of I'll only work for should be a dinosaur that's extinct.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm all for guys saying, look, I give priority to these guys because I train with them, and I'm all for that. I'm like, of course you should. That's your home.
But that's a natural home team thing.
And like, as a rival booker, I'm completely fine with that. Like, if anything, it makes me like that person more because it shows that
it's character trait.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, if they look, I'd love to, but it's like, I had the thing with Bro Day, the tag team from North Queensland. I wanted to book them on the show that we've just postponed. They're like, oh, sorry, man, that clashes with like a CWA, a QCW show. And I've just gone, that's fine. It's like, that's our home promotion. I said, you don't have to explain, mate. I understand completely. And if anything, that I'll just put you on the next show. That's fine.
And that's the thing. Like, it's our job, and it's tricky to navigate because it feels like there's more promotions than ever. It's our job to try and actively avoid clashes where humanly possible. And not every promotion are friendly with each other, which is the nature of the beast. But I still think it's possible to avoid clashes. Like, where it's tricky for us is we've got to avoid clashes with every single state.
When you're bringing in for Renegades, especially
and that's going to be tricky. But then again, if you make your pool big enough, you can go, we'll catch you on the next one. We understand, you know, you're working for your home promotion. We'll have you on our next show. We'll do this. You know, like, there's there's ways to book around it.
Luckily enough, there's probably enough talent in every other state that if guys can't come, then you can pull from those guys anyway.
I think it's interesting. I don't know if people have noticed with the Renegades announcements of, I haven't necessarily gone for every single name being the guaranteed obvious choice big name from every promotion. You know, if you were doing a draft, you know, they're all number one picks, I'm taking them all. And that's been a very deliberate move to give me creative freedom and give something new life, because I think that's super important. But I also think the experienced talent is really important too, because they lift everybody else and help elevate. So it's an interesting balance to sort of try and put together. Because like, when people go, Renegades, you're announcing a roster, what does it even mean? It's like, great question, because we're not locking anybody down to a contract. But I think what we're announcing is these are people that you will regularly see on Renegades of Wrestling shows. They're not the only people you will see on Renegade shows, but if I had my little black book of who I really want to work with and create with, yes, you've seen them announced. And there's a couple more to come. And then we'll probably leave it and just let's focus on, it will become not who's a part of the roster, it will be who's on the show. You know, that the narrative will sort of change. But it's also been good to keep the name out there as we're in this COVID holding pattern of you know, we had to announce so we could talk to people, but we couldn't talk about a first show because
we want you on a show. We don't know when it's going to be. but we want you on a show.
Yeah, like if you were to say to me, do you know your first date? Yes. Are you 100%, 110% sure that's going ahead?
No.
When I'm 110% sure, you'll see the post. You'll see the announcement. And also, we work with Destroy All Lines, and it's not just as simple as Mikey and I signing off on stuff anymore. It's a collab.
Yep.
So we have to adjust to that as well. And Todd, you would know that in that field, it's so mum and pop. The operation normally, it's very easy to get quick answers, etc., because it's made at a level that you can just pick up the phone and you're talking to the person within 2 seconds and getting the answer. We're not swimming in those waters anymore.
Yeah.
But like they trust us to run a wrestling show, but it's they've got significant investment in Renegades of Wrestling, so we need to be respectful of that and work with them, and also we want their promotional machine behind us. So it's all got to be timed, and that's why it was important to bring in people like Ree and stuff like that, and like leave Mikey to sort of do what he does, and sort of, I always say, bring it together like a Voltron. And hopefully it goes well.
Yeah. Well, you said something that sort of like it triggered something that I was having a discussion with somebody else about it, and they were talking, this guy, they're using these guys and using that guys, and I think I said, look, in Queensland anyway, I'm confident enough in my booking abilities that you could give me the roster of any of these guys, and I feel I could put on a better show than them, only because I have confidence in my own booking ability. Is that something that you feel like you could take a roster with the right conditions and be able to, you've got enough confidence in your own booking that.
So the self-doubt in me, right, ask myself the question, are you up for another rebuild? Because I talk about it like it's a sports team, and it's like, do you have another rebuild in you? Because, MCW, can just flash those letters up and get 400 people into the Thornbury Theatre. But that took 7 to 8 years to build. And
that's something that's so funny, because it's something that I used to hear from promoters all the time. Like, in 2 years, I want to be in the same position that a PWA or an MCW is. I said, well, you should have started 6 years ago.
Yeah, it's not that easy. And we're very conscious of that, of just because, it was Jay Andrews, Criss Fresh, and Mikey J behind MCW with Mikey as the owner. Just because two of us are behind this project doesn't mean people straight away go to this project going, oh yeah, it's in safe hands. Of course it's going to work. It doesn't work that way. MCW has earned its reputation, and that's why it delivers what it delivers. And we have to deliver something new. So that was a big question of myself of, do I think I can do this? Then it's the weirdness of not being with MCW after being with it for so long and doing something different. And I'm upfront and open. And, I've mentioned, I've got great affection for James and Chris and Mitchell, and a lot of respect for them. And, I didn't want it to be weird, and it's never really going to be weird because that's just how it works. But I wanted to do something new. And then, you start looking at a roster and the creative spark starts, and it's like, what if I did this? What if I did this? Imagine if this rolled into this, and then on this show, I'd do this. And then it was like, oh no, here it is. I've got it. What if I this was this and it led to this, and then bang, we hit this. And of course, all that's been thrown out 50 times over because other promotions have already kind of done what I wanted to do. And it's like, damn it. Maybe I've said one or two things to somebody and it feels like it was maliciously done elsewhere. And you go, damn it.
You son of a bitch.
But that's the game also, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so now it's my game is to shut up and let the shows do the talking. I'm going to be very nervous that first show. Nervous about drawing because it's a new brand, you know. I can't even talk about the venue, you know, new venue, you know, all of these things are going to come into play. So that's going to be very nerve-wracking. I want it to be successful for Destroy All Lines. I want it to be successful for us. And I want the fans to not go, we could see this at Thornbury.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
Because, you know, I've talked about this before of if it feels a little bit like MCW, it's only because MCW feels a little bit like me. You know,
yeah, there's a lot of your footprint in that, in your DNA,
and a hell of a lot of Mikeys. You know, a hell of a lot of Mikeys. But so how do I make this feel like its own thing? And I'm also 42 years old now. You know, I'm not 32. You know, every time my secret weapon is teenage daughter. That keeps me somewhat youthful and in tune with what's happening with pop culture. I saw we got mocked because by this little turd because I said that I drew inspiration of the name Renegades of Wrestling from the song Renegades of Funk by Rage Against the Machine. And it was like, oh, that's an old song. And it's like, old songs can still be cool today.
Yeah.
And
I just listened to the Hottest 100. There was nothing like that song on the Hottest 100.
No, well, fair point. But, you know, go walk past JJ's and Cotton On and see the Metallica and Guns N' Roses shirts that are being marketed to the kids.
Yep.
Right. You know, with all due respect to Olivia Rodrigo, Sour was a banger album. You know, if I went to name a promotion after one of her songs, it's not going to land. You know, quite as, you know, brutal pro wrestling. I've worked in a promotion. I've worked in a few promotions.
It felt like that, yeah.
That to show. But you know, I think I am conscious of my age and not being out of touch with what modern wrestling is. But, you know, I also still keep in strong contact with what's going on in the wrestling world. And I think that's really important. But the idea is you don't want to mimic, you don't want to be WWE or AEW light either. No. You know, even if you think what they're doing is really good, you can certainly lend from it at times if it hits really well. But because let's be honest, like my generation, like we stole from ECW like it was like they stole licensed music. You know, but it's you want to put your own feel and spin on it. You know, and I also I don't want to feel like PWA. I don't want to feel like RCW and Rampage. I don't want to feel like MCW. I don't want to feel like PCW. I don't want to feel like the Queensland promotions. I don't want to feel like EPW. I don't want to feel like anything like that. I want to feel like us. And I won't know that feel probably till 3 shows in. Yeah. And that's just a fact. It will take time.
I sort of had the same thing for you with when I got asked to help with the booking at Wide Bay, because for the longest time, Wide Bay has had a really bad reputation because that first show they did was on like this footy oval and it was raining and it was a really bad experience. Like the videos got passed around and it was just like, it was that guy that I can't like take a suplex. I can't take a suplex was audibly heard over a microphone, that sort of deal.
Okay. Oof.
Yeah. And that was years ago. And like, to their credit, the owners have been actively trying to get better over that journey. But it seemed to me like every time they brought someone in to help, they were just doing it for them. Do you know what I mean? It was almost like, oh, we'll bring people up to work me and I'll do this and then I'll have all the belts. And
okay, so they're active talent. Yep.
Yeah. So like when I've sort of come in, I was like, I'm not a wrestler. I'm a manager, yeah, but I'm not a wrestler. I don't want any belts. I just want to like help the guys and help you. And if I can do both, that is the best, that you get the best results that way. If you get people that want to come up and work for you because they know that you're going to look after them and in turn they put on a good show because they know that you've just got your best intentions for them, then that place is going to grow. And that's my hope for Wide Bay. I just want Wide Bay to have that reputation where people go, no, I wouldn't mind going to work for them because I've seen their shows and they look really good.
Look, as I said earlier, like I don't know Wide Bay, like, but I'm incredibly insular. No promotion, take offense to that. Like, I wouldn't watch my own shows back. But you know, it's you're allowed growth, you know, and if people sort of learn and get better at things, I don't see that being a bad thing. Like, you shouldn't be condemned forever. We've all made dumb, stupid mistakes in wrestling.
Yeah.
And you know, if you habitually keep doing it, you know,
that's a different thing.
People just won't work for you. And that's what I was saying with the talent. Like, they'll get wise to it. Like, I could understand if anybody that hadn't really worked with myself or Mikey before were hesitant about Renegades, because you don't know us, you know, and we don't have those shiny 3 blue letters behind us anymore going, we're these people. You know, you know,
well, because you were also wolf. Never really out front. We're going, this is, booked this. You were very behind the scenes about it.
If you knew where to look, you knew who I was and what I did. Yeah. But yeah, there are people currently wrestling, and because I know this because I've had the conversations with them, that were fans in the audience that believe I am the Wrestlerock commentator.
Well, you are.
And I am. But they have no idea about, I was booking Melbourne City Wrestling. And that's fine, you know. And I'd say it was a collab, you know, like it was a great advantage to have Jay Andrews' wrestling sensibilities to bounce off. You know, Mikey's got incredible knowledge of wrestling in Australia. Like, I'm not sure many people give Mikey enough credit for just how well he knows the scene in Australia.
Well, I mean, like, when you own as much footage of Australian wrestling as he probably does now,
as much as he does, and what an asset Mikey is in. I can go, Mikey, I've heard about this name. What do you reckon?
He's a clip,
straight away. Like he can go yes, or he'll go not feeling it. You know, and I trust him. If he goes not feeling it, then he's not feeling it. But he will tend to see the good in everything, which is a charming trait of his. Of like, I think they've got advantages here, here, and here, and I'm a bit more of the critical eye. Of they're strutting around because of that, but they're weak here, and here. Now, if I work with them, can we close those gaps? And we've got something really special. And some people are just flawless, you know, like, you know, I use the Velocities as the example, you know, flawless tag team, you know, incredible look, can talk, incredible workers, great name, great music, like flawless.
Yeah, I was thinking about it today. I was like, they are probably the closest thing to like the Rock and Roll Express in Australian wrestling at the moment, because they're that underneath baby face, like, just like you want them to come back when they're getting their selling ability is so very good and all of that. And I think it was just because I'd been watching all the clips of FTR and Rock and Roll Express, and it sort of got me thinking about that, like Ricky Morton being known as one of the best sellers in the business type deal. And I'm like, I watch that PWA show with them against Aussie Open, and I see that same sort of trait out of those guys, the way they sell, the way they get that crowd. That crowd legitimately thought that they were gone and wanted them to come back that whole match. And that is such a valuable talent to have in wrestling.
Like, I've got to be careful who I talk about. There are certain talents that are getting mega pushes now, because I think people can see their talent, but they don't know what to do with them. And it's like, you can belt them up. You can tell everybody that you're behind them, but are you? You know, and it's like, are you
putting him in the best place to succeed?
I'll show you the difference. You know, and that's my job. And I'm not gonna be right every single time. You know, I've had plenty of booking failures, you know, and it's good because they keep me humble. They keep me honest, is when I see it all go wrong. But I love seeing growth in people, and I love seeing the audience. Most importantly, I love seeing the audience react and buy in. Like, that's my drug of, standing there and getting the chills when you're seeing something about to pay off, and you're hoping that the crowd are going to go with the payoff. And when they do, you go, yes, that's it.
That's the closest thing for like guys like you and me. It's the closest thing for us actually being out there and doing it, is being like if you do this and do this, the crowd will do this, and then they do it. For me, that's what I imagine they feel like out there, because it's a hell of a rush.
Like I think a good booker just is all about the talent that they're booking for. And as you said, like, what's the one advantage you could say about Criss Fresh at MCW? Wasn't on the show. Like, occasionally, for those that knew who I was, you'd see me in the background in a suit at a press conference at a contract signing or something like that. But that was more, you could give it that edge of those that do know go, oh, he's in there. He's never in there. It must mean that little bit more because he's in there, or Mikey's in there this time, or Jay Andrews in there this time. They're never in there. It must be legit this time, because they don't just put themselves out as characters on the show. And you'd get those sorts of little nods. But I liked the fact that a talent could never be skeptical about my agenda, because I'm not putting myself over.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the post-show podcast where it's like, you should have seen what I just booked.
Yeah. I took over booking in one Fed in Queensland, and the guy I was working with, I've been working with him in a few places, was really excited. He's like, this is going to suck for you, because we're not going to do anything for the next however long I'm booking, man. We're mid-cards now. I hate to break this to you, but I can't put myself in that position, because then it looks like I'm just pushing my guy. Like, if you are genuinely the best worker and the crowd like sort of demand that you're in that position, then I've got a leg to go to the owner and go, look, this is where we have to go. This is because we're just getting these reactions. Aside from that, mate, we're not going to be doing much, because I don't want to be seen as doing that, if that makes sense. And any Fed that I've been in, where I've been in a booking position, but also sort of like a bigger position in the company, it's been the other guys that have booked that, because I don't want to, like, I'll throw ideas like, this is an idea I have, but you guys make the decision, because I don't want it to look like I'm the one going, I want to manage this guy and he's going to win the title straight away, because that's me.
And here's how it's going to go. I always say, as I was saying, like, people with their home promotions and stuff, if you've got somebody that's consistent and they're good, back them. Like, it's easy to back people like that. Because sometimes it is a risk putting belts or pushing people to the top that perhaps don't care whether your promotion lives or dies, and we're just taking the booking. So that's the flip side of the coin for a promotion. When it comes to loyalty. If talent are wondering why a promotion may ask for loyalty, is you just want to know that the talent's buying in sometimes. It's like, why is it everywhere I go, Lockie Hendricks has gotten a big push? He's never been pushed to the top. You know what I mean? Like, why has he always been a featured performer? Because he's a great character. He can go in ring, and incredibly reliable, and we have a great dynamic creative relationship. And of course, somebody like that is like, there's certain people I'm always going to tap on the shoulder and go, hey, Crackerjack as the example. Another example, Jag. Every promotion I've ever worked for, I've worked with Jag. It's not a coincidence.
Yeah. I've always had Brooksy for that very reason. Yeah. Because I can always say to Brooksy, I need this from you. Yeah, right, champ. Gotcha.
Yeah. Brooks is the same with me. Brooks knows how I feel about him. He's incredibly talented. I don't feel his future's in Australia. He just needs a pandemic to come down. But I think I think, he's super talented. And, there are some talent that just float everywhere, and it's just what they do. They work everywhere. They work for everyone. And a lot of the time, if they're good, they elevate every show they're on.
Yeah.
Like Crackerjack would work every single promotion. And I remember when I was younger, I'd sometimes go, dude, like, why do you even need to go work at Bumble fuck in front of 50 people? And he'd just say to me, because I'm going to show the people in the locker room that nobody else wants to work with that this is how you should conduct business.
Mm-hmm.
Not in those exact words, but, and he took that upon himself, and it bettered people. Some of those people got out of that system and got into the better system, because it's hard sometimes, you're getting only booked in for smaller promotions. You don't know who to speak to, who to talk to. It's intimidating. And then you're in this cycle of working in a particular style of promotion. What I'm doing gets looked down upon by the bigger boys. And it does happen. Like, if I'm being honest, it does, and you get caught in this cycle. And that's where sometimes somebody going, I'm going to go work those shows and I'm going to help these guys, is really important.
That's one thing I do. I like in the last couple of years, that PC, I think we talked about it last time, that PCW have opened up their doors now.
Yeah.
To let their guys go out and flourish, because like, you've got JJ Furno on the show, and that kid has got a lot of upside to him.
I'm so excited.
Just seeing something like, he messaged to work Wide Bay as well not long ago.
Good
and
for him.
The owner's just like, oh, do you know who this guy is? I said, yes, this guy is very good. He's like, what do you mean? I said, well, you know how people talk about Royce Chambers now? He's like, yeah. I said, people will probably talk about him like that in a year or so, because he's got that potential. They're like, oh, how do you know that? I was like, because I watch PCW. I watch, like, they were on RCW. I watch those guys. So I can see when they've got that thing. It's like Kai Drake in PWA. He just needs that one big thing. And he's off to the races.
Can I say to you, with him, in my final year at MCW, a few of the talent really pushed for him. And he was on that chessboard. But we were so full that it just, the opportunity didn't open up for him. I hope me saying this, Kai, I'll give you the address. Hopefully me saying this will get him in. But, I'm certainly aware of him, not from what I've seen, just talent that I respect their opinion, vouching for him. And that was back in 2019. Yeah. They were going, look, this dude's in a promotion with a lot of talented people, so it's easy perhaps to be under the radar a little bit, but he's really, really, really good. And like with Royce, I think Mikey spotted him really early, and Royce came in right at the end of my run. I didn't realize, like, he pointed out that he came in on my second last show. And sort of by that point, like, what I had done was I had handed over the booking of 3/4 of the show to Mikey, and there were certain things I just finished up on. Yeah. So it was sort of like, I still gave advice, but, big storylines I sort of wrapped up. Like sort of the Adam Brooks crowning and stuff like that fell to me, and certain turns and stuff like that. But, a lot of the other stuff sort of fell to that. And, Mikey brought Royce in, and I was just watching him and I was like, yeah, this dude's good, know, and like, they're trapped away at PCW, but, credit to Rowdy and the crew there. They've really changed how they operate.
My way of describing Royce was like, if you took Brooksy and you took Ryan Rollins and you smashed them together, that's Royce Chambers.
He definitely has a lot of Brooks about him, which is maybe why I feel I connect with Royce a little bit. I don't think Royce connects with me, but I connect with Royce a little bit. He reminds me of young Brooks, and I remember vividly watching young Brooks in 2011. And I had a very short stint as MCW booker at that point. And I lost my cool and quit before therapy. And I saw Brooks, and I was like, he's Australia's RVD, you know, and that was in 2011. And I had made a pitch that he would become MCW heavyweight champion in 2011. And because I quit, the story didn't happen. So it was kind of fitting that in 2019, he finally got the belt on my final MCW show.
Yeah.
Like, for he and I, it sort of meant a lot because he knew what was going to happen. Then, like, who knows what would have happened with him?
Yeah.
I was going to have him sort of screw, like, Matt Silver was desperate to win the MCW title. There was going to be a three-way ladder match, and his protege Brooks was going to sneak up a ladder and get it before him. So Brooks became MCW champion before Silver could, and it would drive Silver insane. And, you know, it would then be this unlikely champion sort of doing all these cool things as Brooks does.
Yeah.
And sort of Silver in that, I don't know, this make it really date me, but I remember the franchise Shane Douglas like did this promo where he's like, it's my belt. Like, he was just obsessed with the title, and like just giving him that obsession of, I need to get this title. So that way, when he really got it, it would mean it. But well, none of that happened. So it doesn't matter at all. But yeah, but it was a really nice moment because Adam Brooks became one of the greatest wrestlers Australia's ever produced.
Yeah.
And, you know, to see him win the MCW world title, you know, it felt late, but it's still, I was so glad that he got it. I think he still got it.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, hell of a run, Brooks. Like, it might be assisted by something else.
No.
but you know, Adam Brooks is a can't miss person when you put them on the show. Like, when have you ever put Brooks on a show and go, that match didn't hit?
No, yeah. That literally is like, if I have Brooksy on a show, it doesn't matter where he's on the card. I'm like, I don't have to worry about that match. That match is sorted. Because all Brooksy will come in, what do you need? This is what I want, brother. Got it.
Yeah. And I would always say that about Jag. Obviously he's in Japan, he's hurt at the moment, but you know, if I had Jag on the show, guaranteed incredible moment is going to happen. Like his presence. Yeah.
There you go.
Like his presence, he comes out and it's like people stop and go, who's that? Even if they don't know who he is.
Yeah.
And he's a hell of a worker, a hell of a promo. He popped me at the last Wrestlerock that he did. After his match, I didn't realize he just rolled to the outside, laid there leaning on his head, and watched the women's match on the outside of the ring. And it was just after his WWE stint. And when I saw it, it just popped me huge of like, oh, that Brett, what a rascal.
And that's where we leave it here for part one of my interview with Criss Fresh. You can catch us on all your social medias, Wrestle Radio AU on Instagram and Twitter, and also just look us up on Facebook at Wrestle Radio Australia. And then, follow us if you're on Apple Pods, Instagram, Apple Pods, YouTube, Spotify, all of those. Give us a follow, share us around, because you'll catch more of episodes just like this in the future. Until you, I guess, watch part two, it's Todd Eastman. We'll see you then.
Too sweet, yeah. Too sweet, put your fangs up. Too sweet, pour another cup. Let's be busy.